I want to ask your high level thoughts of what you think about Mr. Beast out there raising $150 million and one, a bad economy, and two, but at a time where like he's the apple of every person's eye. I mean, his popularity is massive.
Yeah, I think it's more exemplary of just kind of like how high the ceiling has gotten for, I guess, like, I don't, I think of him more as an entrepreneur than necessarily at this point than just like a content creator. But I like, in order to contextualize, these endeavors, you have to just think about, man, like how crazy is it that I think the coolest thing you could probably do in like 2015 as a YouTube creator is like show up on a late night show, or maybe have your own like merch business or run a Minecraft server, like to think that a creator can get to the size where they're, like valuing themselves in the what billions, is pretty incredible. And I think he's always just had the ethos of pushing the boundaries and trying to create bigger ideas. And I think that whether this is like consumer packaged goods, this is other endeavors outside of his normal content, it just shows the it's just very unique because he is just ambitious. Like there are a ton of creators that are making, tens of millions of dollars just through ad rev, but very few of them want to expand their businesses to actually build out like these functional new ventures. So I think like you have to look at it, and I don't know what a comparison is. I don't work in the like other celebrity musician fields where they break off and do their own endeavors. But, at the end of the day, I think the flipping of taking brand and commercial deals to creating products yourselves where you have stake and equity and like really, attach your brand to it. It's like he has the microphone right now. And what do you command with that microphone? And like, where does it actually tie into the DNA of what he already does from a content perspective is like kind of like like a question. Is it candy? Is it like what's the extent that you can take that? Could he do a
Yeah.
shoe? Could he build a business that has a higher market cap than a Nike? Could he beat out a handful of fast food chains? Could he? I think the answer to some of these is probably yes. It all comes from an audience somewhere on a platform. At the end of the day, his value, what he's making is, probably disproportionately now like becoming less and less just reliant on the platforms. But I think it is a move he can make from just growing alongside this like billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar industry, which is video creation. And now it's like, okay, he's extracted. He has like multiple channels, right? He has a whole team. It's like, where else, like, what else can you milk out of the existing platforms where it's like the attention economy? It's like he's capitalized on every, like everywhere. He could touch any platform and get it, right? Like even his long form content initially was made for short form before short form. And, like you could take any of his tonality, the tempo, everything. It's like made for where the future was, pretty much, very like isolated, clickable. You want to watch what happens. So he just made that seamless transition. I think, yeah, when you capitalize on the attention economy, if you want to call it that, like where else do you go? Well, you can splinter off your business and do like a million different things. And I think that's kind of what he's trying to do in this motion.
Well, he's doing what Ninja didn't ultimately, in my opinion. Ninja sort of also had this like very massive viral fame moment in 2018 where he became one of the biggest creators in the world and certainly the biggest creator in all of gaming. And that parlayed into partnerships, right? With things like Adidas, etc. Now more recently Masterclass. But Ninja didn't necessarily break off and build kind of these other things that he owned. He was lending his brand and his recognition to other sizable brands, a la Adidas, Masterclass, etc. MrBeast is taking that step further of, I own this. This is me, right? And that's something that is really intriguing. It's something we've not seen. We've seen in content creation and more broadly, like you mentioned, celebrities, etc. Sort of using that parlay. That's not new. Like using their sort of fame, reputation, etc. to flip into enterprise. But he's doing this in a space, especially among young creators, that others haven't. I would say listening to his manager, Reed Desher, who I know personally and think is a good person, to clarify, because I'm about to be slightly critical, to listen to what the MrBeast camp has said about the way that they operate their business in the past, and I'm sure this gets alleviated with capital, is the immediate, like me knowing the venture capital industry, red flag, which is they've talked about more broadly having issues with sort of runway and with having to go leverage their assets, whatever that may be, future YouTube monetization, etc. Going back to brands that they're already in contract with to ask for additional money because they're just running out of money, right? Sort of overshooting their coverage with whatever budget they have to work on things. And if that wasn't MrBeast, I would think it's fair to say that most venture capitalists would stay the fuck away from this, because it is, if that's what they're going to use the capital for, because that alone is like something. And not to mention, and I want to cover this a little bit too, is that venture capitalists don't traditionally like content unless it's very much what they're focused on. It's a business that has lower valuations, meaning it's not as high value. More broadly, its revenues are sort of wonky. Creating monthly recurring revenue in content is really tough, or at least stable monthly recurring revenue. The switch can go off, something can change in the media business. Google can change part of their algorithm and things, kind of go up and down. It's not consistent like a tech company. And so it's already a content spear, but I've paid attention to LinkedIn the past 2 days, and it's just VCs like fawning over the opportunity to even look at this more broadly. Do you think the name is just going to push him through to raising this money?
Yeah, I'm not going to really talk about like the investing side too much, or like our like I'll speak in more like platitudes. And I think that you just have to really get specific about the businesses that he is probably trying to grow into. Like, is it a consumer packaged good company? Is it an automotive company? Is it a whatever? I think like that is first and foremost kind of the first principle that you have to evaluate. Like, could those return venture sized? Like, are those venture sized businesses? Like, there's probably bloody waters everywhere. If it's like a water company or whatnot, like what is the edge? And then when you talk about specifically like content creators, who knows what the future looks like? It is interesting, but if you think about content creators, their income is shared amongst a handful of big tech platforms. It's not the technology itself. So like what actually will have like a crazy network? Like, he's kind of the built-in marketing, which I think is super powerful in the whole reversal of the business, right? It's like he has the marketing plan, the content, everything on lock, which sometimes is the hardest part for all these brands to get into. And they need to pay to get, it's like the whole user acquisition model. He's like on the complete opposite side trying to productize. So I think like it's like the history book is still probably being written as to like what functions of his expansion will be successful, but like being very specific, like look at what those products are and like what among those sectors actually turn into become like billion-dollar businesses. And were they built to become billion-dollar business because of the marketing plan?
Thanks for watching Visionaries on YouTube. For more content, please subscribe to the Overcome channel.